Whoa, 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 coming through. Cannot emphasize enough how much I love Uoto's work and how they have quickly become one of my favorite creators in the anime-manga space. With my first introduction to their work via Orb on the movements of the Earth, hearing that another one of their works was getting animated 100 meters, I felt like, okay, I've gotta watch this. This is a no-brainer. And while it kind of took a little bit of time to go from its theatrical release to streaming on Netflix, I'm kind of glad I waited to watch it in the comfort of my own home. So how exactly was this movie? Let's talk about 100 meters, what stood out, some of the themes, and its ending. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Animel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the host of this channel. And if you have not been here before, hopefully you'll enjoy this video enough to want to subscribe. Now, without further ado, hopefully you've watched the movie 100 meters. If you haven't watched it, then you know there may be some spoilers. So what exactly is 100 meters? 100 meters is a story essentially about that. It's about a bunch of people who sprint the 100-meter race. I mean, you can only but sprint 100 meters because it's such a short distance in comparison to other running distances. And we watch how just running these 100 meters affects all of the characters in this story, but most notably Togashi and Komiya, who are our main characters. And this story takes place over numerous years. Togashi is someone who's essentially been just really good at running and therefore just kind of kills it at the 100-meter dash. And then Komiya is someone who runs kind of to feel something. He doesn't do it for the love of running, he doesn't do it because he's good at it, but he does it because he wants to fill some void in his life. And these two characters come to meet each other, interact over their usage of running and running the 100 meters, and at this point essentially changes the trajectory of their lives. Now, before I get ahead of myself and start explaining the entirety of the story and its themes, I want to talk about what kind of stood out to me. One, and the very first thing that's most notable, especially when they're running, is the animation. Now, I had to dig into it a little bit, and a lot of other people have kind of talked about it, but essentially they use something that's called rotoscoping. So what is rotoscoping? Well, in short, it's a technique where you kind of draw over an image little by little so that it kind of gives the impression of like realistic movement. So that's kind of why when you're watching it, it like really feels like you're either in the body of the person who's running, or as you're watching them run, it feels like you're watching it like in front of you, real life. And I found that to be honestly one of the most astonishing pieces and parts of 100 meters. But aside from that, as mentioned, Togashi and Komiya being our two main characters, we explore probably like 20-ish years of their life and the impact of 100 meters. It's kind of similar to the storytelling of Orb, where it takes place over numerous decades, and how this whole idea of the sun being the center of the universe or the center of the galaxy has changed not only the lives of the characters, but found a way to carry on to other characters in different periods of time. So it's a similar fashion of storytelling, except we're following just two characters instead of multiple characters, you know, over different periods. And just seeing how these characters evolve, not only as people, but in their relationship with the 100-meter dash is very interesting to see. And there's this really big defining moment within the story of a 100-meter dash where Komiya and Togashi come to meet each other again a little bit later in life. Togashi is coming out of a slump, and Komiya is kind of like, you know, just growing and exploding with potential. And you would think that as Togashi is coming out of the slump, he's getting his W's again, and he's making his way back up in the racing world, and they come to face each other, you think that, you know, it's gonna go XYZ way. Well, I kind of love the way it kind of flipped it on its head, and I kind of loved how they kind of told that moment. Because in this moment, there's a bunch of rain, it's quite heavy, so as anyone who's perhaps run in the rain, it's kind of difficult to see. And they make it difficult to see for the viewer as well, kind of giving you a sensation of reality. Not only does the rotoscoping do that, but this particular moment gives a sense of immersion. And I loved the moment so much because it just gets heavier and heavier, and then the moment happens and then it just fades. It fades, I think, into the next scene and then a few years into the future. So those, I would say, were kind of a lot of my favorite moments within 100 meters. That aside, it had some fantastic themes that I really enjoyed within the film. Because to be honest, like most things, you love one thing from a creator, you hope to love the next thing, and then sometimes doesn't always go that way. But in this instance, I found myself loving Orb, and I loved that I also ended up loving 100 meters. And aside from the things that stood out that I really enjoyed, a lot of the themes that happened within the story helps me continue to enjoy what I'm watching. One of the biggest themes is that winning isn't everything. Togashi, being kind of like a prodigy, starts off with winning the 100-meter dash almost constantly. Granted, he's quite young, he's like in middle school, but he's kind of riding on this high. He doesn't know that he's riding on this high yet until he's just constantly winning, and then he realizes, wait a second, what is winning? What does it even mean to me? And the idea of winning just kind of loses all meaning and value, and he ends up in a slump. Also, with all the wins, there's the pressure to also constantly win that eventually starts to bear down on one. But Togashi aside, you've got Zaitsu, a supporting character within the story of 100 meters who has plenty of accolades, is known to be the best 100-meter runner in his generation. But despite having all of these awards and all of this fame and being well known for the 100-meter dash, he feels so empty inside. And it's like he spent years doing this, and this is the end result for him? Like, it almost feels futile. And as we watch our main characters and their relationship with the 100-meter dash, we come to see that some of them end up losing themselves within the act itself and in the journey, and try not to let the end results consume them. So kind of in a connecting point to winning is not everything, initially Komiya starts off as this person who, is using running in the 100-meter dash as a means to feel something. But I think the person in the story that embodies this the most is Kaido. We don't know a lot about Kaido, but we get introduced to him kind of as a more senior runner, someone who's kind of been in it for a while, but he always is ending up in second place, which kind of blows. But for him, if kind of let that get to him, he probably wouldn't continue to enjoy running, and he wouldn't be able to continue to run. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't want to win, but I think he often tries to remember that he enjoys the sport itself, what it offers him, and kind of the journey that he's had with running the 100-meter dash and how it's brought him to where he is today. And this is something that he tries to share with Togashi in his more adult years, who finds himself kind of at just like the bottom of the barrel in his life. But here's the thing, can something like running really solve all the issues in your life? Basically, can escaping into your passions and hobbies really help solve some of your life issues? And I think this might be like the biggest piece of 100 meters. Because as the story opens up and we're introduced to Komiya, and something that Togashi kind of tells him is that running can solve almost anything for you. And you see this with Komiya because Komiya, as mentioned multiple times in this video, uses running to feel something. He probably feels just very empty in life, doesn't feel a lot for life, and in hopes of feeling something uses running to do that. But ultimately, it doesn't end up solving anything for him. As he tries to get faster and faster, as he tries to win accolades, and as he, essentially wants to beat Togashi when they have a rematch later on in life, it doesn't make him feel anything. And he still feels very void inside. And it kind of gets to a point that you really see this theme shine towards the end when he has his second rematch with Togashi, where he's not really concerned about the end results and winning. He is more focused on running against his childhood friend, which kind of ends up helping him feel something, feel a little bit more fulfilled in this 100-meter dash. And with Togashi, as I mentioned, he ends up in a slump, and unfortunately, this slump continues for majority of his early adult years, to the point where he might be at the verge of retirement, but no one really knows because the ending. But ultimately, he ends up being depressed because this 100-meter dash and running, which he thought in grade school, middle school, would be all that he does for the rest of his life. He goes pro, and it's something that he's kind of just always been good at, and that's why he's done it. He also thought that it was something that could help him escape all of his troubles, it ended up, I would say, creating all and most of his depression. First, from the pressures of trying to win all the time, then ending up in a slump, then to rediscovering his love for running, then to end up in a slump, a professional slump in his adult years, and then ending up with a life-changing injury that may push him into retirement. Yeah, I think that running has basically made him depressed. And it's so ironic because he thought it was the one thing that could solve his problem. Funny how his life ended up that way. But ultimately, with the ending of 100 meters, you kind of get something similar to what we got in Uoto, where you have this build-up with all the characters and you're hoping and thinking that you'll see a definitive ending, and it's kind of left up to the interpretation of the viewer. Some people may not like that. Personally, I enjoy it quite a lot. So I love the fact that the very end of 100 meters is all of these people that we've kind of been following around over the past decade or two, and their relationship and their journey and becoming professionals in running 100 meters and seeing them all together in one race, but never seeing how that race ends. But all you can see is the pure elation, especially of our main characters, Togashi and Komiya, and how ultimately all of the emptiness, all of the pain, all of the depression kind of just fades away as they immerse themselves in this very short, fleeting moment that has essentially kind of spanned over the course of their lives. And how the journey has kind of brought them to this point, with some of the characters realizing that running doesn't have to define them, and that they can have lives outside of the 100-meter dash. And that the 100-meter dash is really about the people that you're running next to, not about you winning and hitting that finish line first. And just fundamentally speaking, the 100-meter dash is run in less than a minute, which is a blip in all of our lifetimes. And the impact that it has on our characters is just huge. Ultimately, it's really about the journey. It's less about the winning and the relationships that you build in these activities that you kind of immerse yourselves in. So yeah, I really enjoyed and loved the movie 100 meters. It took me a little while to get this review out, so hopefully you enjoy it. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, comment with your thoughts below, or share with a friend. And if you've gotten to the end of this video and haven't subscribed yet, but you enjoyed it, I hope you subscribe and become part of the Animal community. However, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being subscribers. I'm Mel, the host of Animal, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye.